Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another review of What We Do in the Shadows. This is episode 10, and it's called Ancestry, and unfortunately, it's the season finale. Figures. I miss it already. It's going to be I'm going to miss it so much. I love this show so much. I look forward to watching it all the time. Oh, gosh. Season 2 can't get here fast enough. So, let's get started. We start with Guillermo, and the funny thing is, the first episode, what did we do? We got started with Guillermo. So, and back then, I really couldn't say his name, but I can say his name now. Guillermo. Yeah, I'm very proud of myself, by the way. So he's basically talking about how he's kind of lonely. You know, he's doing his familiar things, and during the day he's by himself. He has no one to talk to, and he does his job and moving things around and cleaning, and he's contemplating about things, about how if he had still worked at Panera Bread, he'd be a manager. And they show him in his room, and he's writing on his little piece of paper. I guess it's a picture of him and what he would look like as a vampire and the names he would give himself. And they show him also cutting pieces of people up, which is a thing we don't usually see. We don't see them feeding, and we don't see what happens to those people. Now we have an idea. So, that looks like a lot of fun, and it's kind of dirty, familiar job he has, but someone's got to do it. So nightfall hits, and he runs out to get the mail. And something I noticed when he got the mail, he pulls the mail out, and there is a magazine I don't know if it's a magazine or a catalog. It looks like a catalog, and it's called Latex Lust. I had to look at it twice, but it was the funniest thing to see it. Latex Lust. Like, oh, it's probably Laszlo's, I imagine. So I definitely don't think it's Colin. So all right. But Guillermo was waiting for this envelope, so he grabs it. He's all excited about it, and he heads to his master's chamber, and the master and Nandor decide just shove it inside his coffin, and he's finally able to get it. Of course, he can't see it because it's dark, and he basically says he did an ancestry test. He took his DNA and did an ancestry test on him to see where he's from and everything. And, of course, Nandor is, you take my semen. And Guillermo's like, what? Because apparently some witches stole his semen back in the day and apparently tried to make some kind of, I don't know, semen spell. And it didn't work, and semen got all over the place. Guillermo's like, what? So he goes, no, this is more on the up. So he goes, we can see what kind of ancestors you have, So they head to his little room. And they take a look, and they come to find out that he has 200,000 direct living descendants. So he's like, so I'm a grandfather? He goes, times 30, basically. He's like, wow, And so Nandor goes into detail about him, with his 37 wives. He was married 37 times! Man, that's a busy dude. You know what I mean? Holy cow! And how it was getting rough there for a while because, he wanted to sleep and, at the day and at night he was drinking blood. What can you do? So then finally what happened was that they all, they divorced him and took off. And it was, unfortunately, and it was a sad day for him because, first of all, he loved 35 of them. So that's a pretty good ratio. And he couldn't see his kids anymore. And he said the wives, basically, that's what they were doing. He goes, he wouldn't take care of the kids. The wives took care of the kids. And some wolves, apparently. Yeah, some wolves. So, and he goes, apparently the kids were scared of him. And why wouldn't they? Because he was a vampire. And he would say he would float up to the windows and like, look. He goes, oh, you have my nose. With showing his fangs and everything. And he never saw him again. And they're probably dead now. So, but they come to find out that he does have an ancestor living near him. Named Madeline in Staten Island. So he's all excited about it. So he decides to call a meeting. And they head into the library where they have the meetings at. And so there's Colin and Nadja and Laszlo. And apparently Guillermo did a DNA test on all of them. And she was like, how'd you get our DNA? Because you leave it all over the place. So he tries to give it to Nadja, and she wants no part of it. Tries to give it to Laszlo. Nothing, no way. But Colin's all for it. So Colin's like, give me. So Colin gets it, and he gives himself a drum roll and everything because no one else would do it. And come to find out, he's 100% white. which is like, is that possible? Well, yeah, the paper says he's 100% white. So he was like, wait a minute, I mean, you got to be from somewhere. Nope, he's 100% white. So now the big news, Nandor basically says that he has 200,000 living relatives, and he's all proud of it. And and they're like, Nadja's like, it could be witches trying to take your semen. He's like, no, there's no witches taking my semen. And so he's very happy about that. And of course, Colin has a rain on his parade. And he's like, I wouldn't ruin this for you. He goes, but Genghis Khan has 16 million living descendants. And he's like, why does he do that? So he wasn't too happy about that. So now the Nadja asks if there's one living nearby. And he goes, yeah. They tell him, it's Madeline, and he's all happy about it. And Guillermo's like, yeah. And he goes, did you do you? And he goes, yeah, I did that. And he goes, but no one wants to hear mine. And he's like, no one does. So everyone leaves, and he's just standing there. So he goes back to his room, and he checks, and he finds out that he is 3.12% Dutch. And so his family tree shows Dutch and something interesting, a Van Helsing. And he's giggling, going, that can't be, because Van Helsings are vampire hunters, vampire killers. That's their history of them. He goes, they're not real, right? He's like, seriously, not real. He goes, I've killed 2 vampires, and they show him killing the Baron and the one in the corridors, or the corridors when they were trying to escape getting killed. And he starts getting a little upset, thinking, oh crap. Vampires are real. Why can't vampire hunters be real? And he's trying to figure out his tummy was bothering him, so he's like trying to figure out what do they eat? And he's like, garlic. So we head back out to the outside where Laszlo is making something for Nadja, because that's his woman. That's the one who turned him into a vampire. And he was an unhappy person in real life, and now he's a happy person in death. Strange, but true. So he is making a new, I guess, bush for her. And Guillermo shows up with some steaks because Laszlo wanted steaks, but Laszlo didn't want those steaks. And he's all mad at him. And he's like, where'd you get those? And he goes, from Amazon. He goes, you go back to the Amazon. And that's not the way it works. So that was kind of good. So, he was not too happy about it. So now we head off to, they show Colin talking about how they're going to go see the ancestor for Nandor. To say hello, or not say hello, but just to see this person. And so they find the window, they find where she lives, and Nandor and Colin and Guillermo are there. And they're telling him, well, he's saying, please, I need support from you and everything. I need the support because I'm going to, give him to show this little teddy bear he's going to give her. And Colin goes, I can't do this. I can't support you. He's like, it feels like I'm eating myself or feeding on himself, basically. So Nandor floats up to the window, and he's looking, and they're looking up at him. And he's like, I see her. It's like, oh, and they're asking, what do you see? He's like, she's sleeping. And they're saying, and he's basically, she's much older than I thought. And he's, well, I was trying to tell you, she's 94 years old. And they keep telling him, don't tap on the window. Don't do it. Don't tap. And he, sure enough, starts tapping on the window. Madeline, tap, 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 tap. So she wakes up, and they're like, oh, no. And he's basically calling her. And he shows her the teddy bear, and she sees him floating there with a teddy bear, and she has a heart attack, apparently, and just dies on the spot. Dead. He kills his ancestor who's living nearby. And so now the ambulance is there, and Nandor calls down to Guillermo, asking him, what's this feeling I'm having? and it's called grief. He goes, no, I do not like this. And he basically says that that Colin was goading him into tapping the window, and they're like, no, because if you mean by telling you not to tap on it, yeah, then we were. He goes, see, I told you. And he goes, you were goading me, and Guillermo was goading me, and he's all upset, and so he floats down, leaving Colin on the roof. He goes, how am I supposed to get down? He goes, you're going to take the stairs because you were goading me. That's what you get. It was a really funny scene. He's all upset. So now we go back to the house, and there's Nadja. And Nadja has all these pictures of Gregor. And she's reminiscing about Gregor and has, all the pictures of him how he's getting his head cut off. And she's like, oh, she misses Gregor so much. Showing his button ones going, yum, yum, yum. And she starts singing a song like for Gregor. And you pan away to an insane asylum, and that's where he is. And he hears her song, and he's like tied down to this chair, and he breaks out of the chair, and he kills the guy, the orderly, and he's like, I'm Gregor! And he jumps away, and meanwhile all the other inmates are just sitting there just bleh. I guess they're drugged up, and he's running out of the corridor. Someone's chasing him. He busts out into to this like second floor, I guess, balcony. He gets on the edge and jumps into a dumpster. He gets out of the dumpster and steals a car, and off he goes. So we think he's going to Nadja. So now we go back to the crew, and they're heading to a funeral at a church, which we know is not going to be good for vampires. And they're trying to figure out, and they're showing the pictures and everything of the windows and all the the pictures on the windows. And Laszlo calls in the, I don't know if it's God or Jesus, but the Jeepers man, like he's the Jeepers Creepers guy, and he's like, that's the Jeepers man. And they're like, why is there a funeral at night? There shouldn't be no one in there. And Guillermo goes, I called a bomb threat, and so they would have it at night so you can go. Which was nice of him, but kind of funny at the same time. And Laszlo wants no part of the church. And Nadja, same thing. Nadja's like going, she can't even say it. And here's Colin going, well, I can go in. I can go in and out. And he goes, actually, it's a good source of to eat, nutrition. And Nandor's like, no. He goes, this is not what it's about. It's about Madeline. He goes, and he says, great. I don't know how many times. Like great granddaughter. I mean, just great. I'm like, we get the point. So finally he convinces them to go, and Nadja's like, F it. He goes, let's go. So they head in. Needless to say, the church doesn't agree with them. They're just bleeding out of their eye sockets. There's smoke coming up. They're just absolutely miserable. And Colin's fine. But, I mean, it's just, it's terrible. They look horrible. And she's like, because I look terrible with all this blood coming out of my eyes. So you look fine. And finally, they're just like, no, we can't do this anymore. And I was just like, I gotta leave. I'm on fire. So he's like, thank you for coming. Nandor's like, after Colin takes off too. And Nandor's like, thank you for coming. And he's just sitting there, Gah. And he's like, he tells Guillermo, go get some water because I'm on fire. So he goes, gets water, and I'm looking, I'm like, oh no, it's holy water. And Nandor's screaming, ah! And everybody looks over, and he's like, it's so touching. It's a touching thing. I'm going to miss her. And he's like, that was holy water. You're trying to kill me? And I'm like, uh-oh, there's the Van Helsing in him. So they leave, and they head back to the manor. And so Nadja and the Laszlo are going to sleep. And as they go to sleep, they pan over, and now they show a helicopter following this car, which is obviously Gregor's car. And they're chasing him. So, and then all of a sudden they show these two kids talking about something. I don't know what they're talking about. And they're like, wait, but look at that. And they show the car with Gregor's in, and he hits his pole, and he shoots out the front window. Of course, because he didn't have his seatbelt on, so don't forget, click it or get a ticket. So he gets up. Somehow he miraculously gets up. He fixes his broken bones. He runs towards a convenience store. He throws this dude down, grabs his helmet. He gets on the motorcycle and off he goes. And just in time because the cops are coming. So he gets there and he starts calling Nadja. He's Nadja, calling her name, and she comes out. What in the world? So she heads out, and there's Gregor in the front lawn, and he's like, "Come for you," and he's like, confessing his love, and let's go. And she's like, "I have a husband. He's here," and sure enough, there's Laszlo. Apparently, Laszlo was outside cutting, finishing his present, and Gregor's like, "I'm here for Nadja." And he goes, "Well, Nadja's my wife." And as he's telling him, actually, and by the way, Nadja's calling him Jesk. The whole time she's calling him Jesk, which is pretty funny. And basically, come to find out, all this time, with Gregor getting his head cut off, it was Laszlo the whole time cutting his head off. The whole time! He basically was the one cutting off his head. Every time, she said that he had got his head cut off in all of his lifetimes, which was very strange. Well, he was the one who did it. And they show every instance of him doing it. Every single one. He names every single one. And they show Laszlo in the picture the whole time. And he's like, "What?" Even when he was a cat and he was a mouse. Okay, he was a mouse at one point. And then she explains what, and she's asking, "What the heck? Why?" And he's basically telling him, "I don't like to see my wife cry." It was a very touching moment. That's like, "I don't want none of that jazz. I want to, be happy." And she's all taken aback by it. So she tells, just let Gregor live. So he's like, "Fine, if that's what you want, you just got to go." And he's like, "I'll see you in another lifetime." He says, "No, you won't." And she, of course, mumbles, "Yes, you will. You probably will." So as he's leaving, he shows him his present to her, the bush of her, and she's so happy. And as Gregor takes off in his motorcycle, he forgets there is a wire going across it. And as he leaves, he goes right by the wire and cuts his head off. And Laszlo's like, "This wasn't on me. I didn't do it. He did it himself." And his helmet's sitting there with his face. And Nadja's saying goodbye to him. "We'll see you in another life." And Gregor's Laszlo's covering his body, with the tarp. So I was like, okay, that's the end of Gregor. And until his next life, which most likely we're not going to see him again. So we go in the house, and there's Nandor and Gregor. I'm sorry, Guillermo. And Guillermo is getting them ready for bed. And Guillermo is, not himself. And he's asking him, "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong." And he goes, "So what was your DNA test?" He goes, "Oh, it's nothing special." And he goes, "Mexican piñata farmer." He goes, "You should not be ashamed of that. People need to breed those colorful donkeys." I couldn't stop laughing when he said that. Breeding piñatas. Man, I've never heard of a Mexican piñata farmer. That was fantastic. So he's getting ready for bed, and he goes, "Oh, thank you for being there on my day, even though you threw holy water on me." He was so mad about that. He goes, "My burns from the holy water you threw." And he's like, "It's the merit for you." And he goes, "And another year for you to be not familiar." He was so upset. Again, I was like, "Huh?" So he closes that casket, and he sets everything, turns on all the lights and candles, and goes out. He's taking with him the steaks, and he's looking at the steaks, and then he gets the shivers, or the Gucci's, as I call them. When we were kids, we called them the Gucci's. When when you got a shiver, and you're like, "Ooh, that was the Gucci's." So he had 3 steaks in his hands, and he throws them, and each one hit a painting. One of them hit the one dead where the heart is, where Nandor is, and the other 2 in the portrait with Laszlo and Nadja, where the heart is. And the show at the end, they show him sitting there just looking at the camera like, "Oh crap!" And at the end, you see the house with a bunch of, I guess, crows, and we all know that's a bad sign. And that's how the season finale ends. That was such a funny episode. That season finale. That's what I think of it. It was a great, great episode. But I still can't get out of my head Mexican piñata farmer. That was so good. Oh, that was so funny. When they were in the church, they were just miserable, trying to be, sad for Madeline, and they just couldn't take it anymore. Calling God or Jesus, I guess, the Jeepers man. Oh my God, the whole thing was so good, and finding out a little bit more about these characters, that Nandor was married 37 times and has 200,000 basically living relatives all over the place. That's kind of interesting, and it's like, and now we have no more Gregor. Gregor's gone. I'm sad. No more Gregor. And I don't know what they're going to do there. And Guillermo now has a backstory here of being a Van Helsing. That's really interesting too. He's a vampire killer. It's like, and he loves being a vampire. And it's like, oh boy. The one thing I did miss in this was Jenna. I missed Jenna in this. I wish she was in this, but she wasn't, and it's unfortunate. I hope she's back in the second season, because I really, really do miss her. She's such a funny little character. And I was very happy with the season ending. I was very happy the way it ended. It was a great ending. I like the kind of small little cliffhanger of him being a Van Helsing. That was great. So we'll find out what happens next season. Next season, man, it's too far away. So there's not much we can do. We have to wait. So what did you guys think of the season ending? You like it as much as I liked it? Man, I really, really, really enjoyed it. The last episode was decent. Not one of my favorites, but this one really made up for it. It was really, really good. I enjoyed it, and I hope you guys enjoyed it too. And if you did, leave a like and subscribe so you can talk to me about it. And yeah, that was it. That was the last one. I might do an overview of the show and just to give you my opinion on all how the characters progress and stuff. But I'm very sad it's ending though. All right, guys, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you again when I do another review of something. There's a show I'm looking at that I might be doing a review of, hopefully very soon. And I hope you guys come back and check it out. And I definitely will be doing reviews of the second season. So thanks very much. I will see you guys again. Bye-bye.